Chapter 13, Self-Discipline and Time Management. If you do not conquer self, you will be conquered by self, wrote Napoleon Hill. There is perhaps no area of your life in which self-discipline is more important than in the way you manage your time. Time management is a core discipline that largely determines the quality of your life. As Peter Drucker said, you cannot manage time, you can only manage yourself. Time management is really life management, personal management, management of yourself rather than of time or circumstances. Time is perishable. It cannot be saved. Time is irreplaceable. Nothing else will do. Time is irretrievable. Once it is gone or wasted, you can never get it back. Finally, time is indispensable, especially for accomplishments of any kind. All achievement, all results, all success requires time. You can't save time. The fact is that you cannot save time, you can only spend it differently. You can only reallocate your time usage from areas of low value to areas of high value. Herein lies the key to success and the requirement for self-discipline. Time management is the ability to choose the sequence of events. By exerting your self-discipline with regard to time, you can choose what to do first, what to do second, and what to do not at all. And you are always free to choose. You require tremendous self-discipline to overcome the procrastination and delay that holds most people back from great success. A native Indian once told me that procrastination is the thief of dreams. The Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule, says that 20% of the things you do account for 80% of the value of what you accomplish. This means that 80% of what you do is worth 20% or less of the value of what you accomplish. Assess the true value of everything you do. Some things you do are 5 times and even 10 times more valuable than other things, even though they take the same number of minutes and hours. The most important things you do, the top 20%, are usually big, difficult, and daunting. In contrast, the 80% of things that you do that make little or no difference to your life are usually fun, easy, and enjoyable. You can tell the value that something has to you by the amount of your time you invest in it. You always pay attention to and spend time on what you most value, whether it is your family, your health, your social or sports activities, or your money and career. It is only by looking at how you spend your time that you and everyone else knows what is really important to you. Some people say that career success is most important to them, and then they go home and watch television several hours per day. Some people say their families are important to them, and then they go out socializing or playing golf. Only your actions tell you and others what you truly value. The essence of time management is for you to discipline yourself to set clear priorities and then stick to those priorities. You must consciously and deliberately select the most valuable and important thing that you could be doing at any given time and then discipline yourself to work solely on that task. Personal strategic planning. In corporate strategic planning, the main focus is on increasing the return on equity, ROE. Equity in a business is defined as the amount of money actually invested in the business by the owners, aside from debt and money borrowed. The purpose of strategic planning is to find ways to organize and reorganize the business in such a way that the company is achieving a higher rate of return on this equity than it would be in the absence of the planning process. Companies invest financial capital, but individuals invest human capital. Companies deploy financial assets, but your most vital assets are your mental, emotional, and physical energies. How you invest them determines your entire quality of life. In personal strategic planning, your goal is to get the highest return on energy from your activities. Ken Blanchard refers to this as getting the highest return on life. Just as you would be careful about investing your money so as to ensure that you get the highest rate of return, you must be equally careful when you invest your time. You must be sure that you earn the highest level of results, rewards, and satisfaction from the limited amount of time you have. Think before you act. Before you commit to any time-consuming activity, you must always ask, is this the very best use of my time? Lack of self-discipline in time management leads people to procrastination on their top tasks continually, causing them to spend more and more time on tasks of low or no value. And whatever you do repeatedly eventually becomes a habit. Many people have developed the habit of procrastination, of putting off their major tasks and instead spending most of their time on activities that make very little difference in the long run. Priorities versus posteriorities. Setting priorities requires setting posteriorities as well. A priority is something that you do more of and sooner, whereas a posteriority is something that you do less of or later. You are probably already overwhelmed with too much to do and too little time. Because of this, for you to embark on a new task, you must discontinue an old task. Getting into something new requires getting out of another activity. Before you commit to a new undertaking, ask yourself, what am I going to stop doing so that I have enough time to work on this new task? Go through your life regularly and practice creative abandonment. Consciously determine the activities that you are going to discontinue so that you have more time to spend on those tasks that can really make a difference to your future. Identify the consequences. One of the most important words in developing the discipline of time management is consequences. Something is important to the degree that it has serious potential consequences for completion or non-completion. A task or activity is unimportant to the degree that it does not matter if it is done or not. For example, completing a course of study at the university can have enormous consequences that can impact your life for the next 50 years. Completing a major task or project at work or making an important sale can have significant consequences for your job and your income. On the other hand, drinking coffee, chatting with coworkers, reading the newspaper, surfing the internet, or checking emails may be enjoyable, but these activities have few or no consequences. In other words, whether you do them or not makes little or no difference to your work or to your life. However, it is precisely on these activities that most people spend most of their time. Managing your time. There is a simple time management system that you can use to overcome procrastination. It requires self-discipline, willpower, and personal organization, but the payoff is huge. When you use this system, you can double or even triple your productivity, performance, output, and income. Before you begin each day, start by making a list of everything you have to do that day. The best time to make this list is the evening before, at the end of the workday, so that your subconscious mind can work on your list of activities while you sleep. You will often wake up with ideas and insights for how to more effectively complete the tasks of the day. Then apply the abcde method to your list. A is something that you must do. There are serious consequences for non-completion. A B is something that you should do. There are mild consequences for doing it or not doing it. A C is something that would be nice to do, but there are no consequences whether you do it or not. A D is something that you delegate, and you delegate everything you possibly can to free up more time for those things that only you can do. And E is something you eliminate. You discontinue all tasks and activities that are no longer essential to your work and to achieving your goals. Review your list of activities for the coming day and then write an A, B, C, D, or E next to each task before you start. If you have several A tasks, rank them by importance by writing A1, A2, A3, and so on. Do this with your B and C tasks as well. The rule is that you should never do a B task when you have an A task left undone. You should never do a lower value task when you have a higher value task before you. Once you've organized your list using this system, discipline yourself to start on your A1 task first thing in the morning before you do anything else. Practice single-handling. Once you've begun work on your most important task, you must discipline yourself to concentrate single-mindedly with 100% of your time and attention until that task is complete. It takes tremendous self-discipline to select your most important task and then to start on that task rather than doing anything else. But once you begin to work on it, you'll start to feel a flow of energy that motivates and propels you into the task. You'll feel more positive and confident. You'll feel happier and more determined. The very act of starting on an important task raises your self-esteem and motivates you to continue. Deep within each person is an intense desire to feel strong, effective, powerful, and in control of his or her life. You automatically trigger these feelings of self-confidence and self-esteem when you discipline yourself to start work on the task that is most important to you at the moment. 1000% return on investment. This abcde method seldom takes more than about 10 minutes to organize your entire day. But you'll save 10 minutes in execution for every minute that you invest in this way of planning before you begin. This means that you will get a 1000% return on energy from the act of planning thoroughly and setting clear priorities before you start on your first task. As you feel yourself moving forward, making progress on your most important task, your brain releases a steady flow of endorphins, nature's happy drug. These endorphins will make you feel more positive, more focused, more alert, aware, and in control. When you discipline yourself to push against your natural resistance to get started on your most important task, you get an endorphin rush. You experience this as a sense of elation, exhilaration, happiness, and high self-esteem. By completing a major task, you feel exactly like an athlete who has crossed the finish line first. You feel like a winner. Your payoff from excellent time management is never-ending. As soon as you begin to plan and organize your time, set priorities, and begin on your A1 task, you'll feel happy and more in control of yourself and your life. The better you plan and execute, the better you feel. Keep yourself focused. The law of forced efficiency says, there is never enough time to do everything, but there's always enough time to do the most important things. Here are some questions that you should ask yourself to help keep you focused and working on your top tasks, activities, and responsibilities. Number 1, why am I on the payroll? Exactly what have I been hired to do? What results are expected of me? You must be clear about your answer to this question. Discuss it with others. Ask your boss. Number 2, what are my key result areas? Of all the things I do, what are the most important results that I am expected to achieve in my position? There are seldom more than 5 to 7 key result areas in any job. It's essential that you identify yours and then work in those areas all day long. 3, what are my highest value activities? Of all the things I do, which activities contribute the greatest value to my company and to myself? You have core competencies that enable you to make a valuable contribution. What are they? Number 4, what can I and only I do that if done well will make a real difference? There's only one answer to this question at any given time. This is something that you and only you can do. If you don't do it, no one else will do it instead. But if you do it and you do it well, it can make a tremendous difference in your life and work. And finally, question number 5, what is the most valuable use of my time right now? This is the most important of all questions for setting priorities and overcoming procrastination. At every minute of every day, there is an answer to this question. Your ability to organize your life and to select your highest priority is a key measure of your intelligence and your effectiveness. Start today. Starting today, you should apply these key time management principles to every area of your life. Apply them to your work, your family, your health, your exercise routine, and to financial decisions and activities. No excuses. You require tremendous discipline to set priorities and then stick to those priorities. You require the continuous exertion of discipline and willpower to overcome the procrastination that holds most people back. However, the more you discipline yourself to use your time well, the happier you will feel and the better will be the quality of your life in every area. What stands between you and your goals are almost always problems and difficulties of some kind. Your ability to effectively solve the problems of daily life can have an enormous impact on your results and rewards. We'll talk about this in the next chapter. Now here are 7 action exercises for you. 1. Make a decision today to become absolutely excellent at time management. Work at it until it becomes a habit. 2. Before you begin each day, make a list of everything you have to do that day. As new tasks arise, write them down before you act on them. 3. Organize your work list by priority by using the ABCDE method over and over until it becomes a habit. 4. Identify your A1 task each day and resolve to work single-mindedly on that task until it is totally complete. 5. Identify the one task that only you can do, and that if you do it well, can make a real difference. 6. Determine the 20% of your tasks that can account for 80% of your results, and then discipline yourself to work on them most of the time. And number 7, every minute of every day, ask yourself, what is the most valuable use of my time right now? And then discipline yourself to work on only that task until it's complete. Chapter 14. Self-discipline and problem solving. Experience is not what happens to a man, it is what a man does with what happens to him. Aldous Huxley. Thoughts are causes and conditions are effects. Therefore, the quality of your thinking largely determines the quality of your life. The greatest mental principle is that you become what you think about most of the time. Top people in every field are intensely solution-oriented. They think about solutions most of the time. Instead of getting bogged down in who did or didn't do something or other, the most successful people in every field concentrate on the solutions and what can be done to solve the problem. The Sufi philosopher Israt Khan once wrote, "Life is a continuous succession of problems. Like waves from the ocean, they never stop." This means that your ability to practice self-discipline, self-mastery, and self-control when faced with the never-ending flow of problems, difficulties, setbacks, and temporary failures you will experience is essential to your success in business and in life. The inevitable and unavoidable crisis. Throughout your life you will face a river of problems, physical, financial, family, business, and political. The only break in this never-ending chain of problems will be the occasional crisis. If you're living a normal life, you'll probably experience a crisis every 2 or 3 months. And it is in these crises that you truly demonstrate the quality of your personality and the strength of your character. It's only when you face unexpected reversals and setbacks that you show the world what you are truly made of. All of life is a test. The only question for you is, do you pass or fail? By its very nature, crises come unbidden. You have no warning or ability to anticipate them in advance. If you did, it wouldn't be a crisis in the first place, obviously, or you would already be prepared. When the inevitable crisis occurs, more than at any other time, self-discipline is required so that you can remain calm and clear-headed in order to deal with the crisis effectively. Perform at your best. When something goes wrong, the natural tendency of most people is to become angry and look around for someone to blame. But this is a waste of energy. It solves nothing. Instead, you must discipline yourself to remain calm, objective, and unemotional. When you face an unexpected problem or crisis, discipline yourself to stay calm, to focus on the solution rather than the problem. Think in terms of what can be done now, rather than thinking about how it occurred or who is to blame. Like an accident where someone is hurt, you focus on caring for the injured person, stopping the bleeding, and minimizing the damage before you start analyzing what and how it happened. Practice self-discipline when dealing with a problem or crisis by immediately saying, "I am responsible," even if at that moment you are only responsible for controlling your responses. Keep your mind clear. Top people have developed the ability to respond effectively to a crisis, to remain calm, relaxed, and clear-eyed. They discipline themselves to stay cool and unemotional. This enables them to think more clearly, to analyze the situation objectively, and to make better decisions. But the moment you become angry and upset, your neocortex, your thinking brain, shuts down. All you have left then is your paleocortex, your emotional brain, which thinks in terms of fight or flight. When your emotional brain is in charge, you think in terms of black and white, yes or no, doing something or doing nothing. You lose the ability to think in shades of gray and to look at all the different possible ways to deal with this particular situation. Top people realize that every problem is an opportunity to grow in self-control and personal confidence. In fact, you will rise in life to the height of the problems that you are capable of solving. Stepping stones to success. Some years ago, Dr. Lawrence Peter wrote a book called The Peter Principle. It was an amusing book with a central thesis that got too close to home. He wrote that in every organization, people continue to be promoted until they reach a level where they are no longer competent to solve the problems at that level. This is where they stop and stay for the rest of their careers. Furthermore, he pointed out that for this reason, every organization is eventually staffed by people who have reached their level of incompetence. This is especially true in government, and it is the primary reason why government is so time and cost inefficient, making it difficult to get anything done at all. This is usually true in any large bureaucracy. In your own personal life, you continue to rise in your company and your profession in direct proportion to your ability to solve the problems and make the necessary decisions at each level of your career. The good news is that when you think about solutions most of the time, you train your brain to be intensely solution-oriented. No matter what problems or difficulties arise around you, your brain will be continually seeking creative ways to solve the problem. As a result, you actually become smarter and quicker, with more of your thinking brain available to you faster. If you want to learn a physical sport, you begin by learning the basic moves, and then the more advanced moves. You practice these skills over and over again until you can perform them and go through the motions naturally and easily every time. To master the discipline of problem solving, you need to develop a formula or method that enables you to deal effectively with almost any problem you face in the course of your career or personal life. Fortunately, there's a proven formula for problem solving and decision making that you can use in almost any situation. Let's take a look. A 9-step method for solving problems effectively. Step 1. Take the time to define the problem clearly. In medicine, they say that accurate diagnosis is half the cure. Therefore, you need to ask, what exactly is the problem? It is absolutely amazing how several people can become upset about a problem in an organization, but every one of them has a different idea or definition of the exact nature of the problem they're facing. Your job is to achieve clarity and to get everyone to agree on the definition of the problem before you move on to the business of solving it. Step 2. Ask, is it really a problem? Remember, there are some things that you can do nothing about. They're not problems, they are merely facts of life. If interest rates rise or the subprime mortgage market collapses, this is not a problem. This is not something that is amenable to a solution. Instead, it is something that must be worked around and dealt with. Also, very often what appears to be a problem or a setback is actually an opportunity in disguise. Sometimes the problem does not need to be solved at all. Instead, you are now free to do something completely different, which might be even better for you and your organization. Step 3. Ask, what else is the problem? Beware of any problem for which there is only one definition. The more ways you can define a problem, the more likely it is that you will find the best solution. When we work with corporations in which sales are below a desired level, we force them to ask 21 questions, all of which are different ways of restating the problem. Each restatement of the problem, if accepted as the correct definition, leads to a different solution and often to a completely different direction for the organization. For example, we will ask, what is the problem? And the first answer is, our sales are too low. The next question is, What else is the problem? Answer, our competitors' sales are too high. Notice the difference. If the problem is that your sales are too low, the solution may be to increase your advertising and promotion and beef up your sales activities. If the definition is that your competitors' sales are too high, the answer may be to improve your products, change your product line, lower your prices, or go into a completely different business altogether. By asking and answering a series of questions like this, we eventually find the correct definition, the one that is amenable to a workable solution. Step 4. Ask, how did this problem occur? Seek to understand the causes of the problem so that you can ensure that it doesn't happen again. In your life or business, if a problem recurs repeatedly, it is a sign that your business is poorly organized or out of control in that area. There is a defect built into your systems that is causing the same problem to recur. Your job is to find out why this happens repeatedly so that you can solve the problem at its root. Step 5. Ask, what are all the possible solutions? The more possible solutions you develop, the more likely you will come up with the right one. The quality of the solution seems to be in direct proportion to the quantity of solutions considered in problem solving. Beware a problem for which there is only one solution. Step 6. Ask, what is the best solution at this time? Sometimes any solution is better than no solution. An average solution vigorously executed is often superior to an excellent solution that cannot be implemented because of its complexity or because no one has the ability to execute it. The rule is that fully 80% of all problems should be dealt with immediately. Only 20% of problems need to be put off to a later time. If you must put off a problem, set a specific deadline for making a decision on that problem, and then make your decision at that deadline with whatever information you have at that time. There is a rule that says that every large problem was once a small problem that could have been solved easily and inexpensively at that time. Sometimes the best strategy is to nip it in the bud. When it is clear that there is a problem and a solution, do what has to be done and do it quickly. Step number 7. Make a decision. Select a solution, any solution, and then decide on a course of action. Always ask, what is our next action? What are we going to do now? Step 8. Assign responsibility. Who exactly is going to carry out the solution or the different elements of the solution? It's quite common for a group to meet to solve a problem and to agree on a solution, but when the group meets again 2 weeks later, it turns out that nothing has happened. Why? Because no one was made specifically responsible for carrying out the decision. Step 9. Set a measure for the decision. What are you trying to accomplish with this decision, and how will you measure results? How will you know that it worked? The more accurately you can determine the result that you want to achieve by the solution, the more likely it is that you will achieve it. The big reward. The main reward you get for solving problems is the opportunity to solve bigger and more important problems. Your rate of pay and speed of promotion, and therefore your forward movement in your career, is largely determined by your problem-solving ability. The more you focus on solutions, the more solutions you will come up with, and the more valuable your contribution will be to your organization. The flip side of self-esteem is called self-efficacy. Your level of self-efficacy is defined as how competent you feel you are to solve your problems and achieve your goals. The more competent you feel you are to solve the problems and difficulties of daily life, the more you like yourself. The more you like yourself, the more confident and competent you become in solving even larger problems and getting even more important results. The determinant of your success. In your work, your problem-solving ability largely determines everything you accomplish. People who are good at solving problems are some of the most valuable and respected people in every area. For this reason, success has been defined as the ability to solve problems. This also means that happiness is the ability to solve problems. Leadership is the ability to solve problems. When you practice self-discipline and self-control in face of the inevitable and unavoidable problems and crises of day-to-day life, you become more competent and effective in everything you do. You will be respected and esteemed by everyone around you. You will experience a tremendous feeling of personal power and competence. In no time at all, you will become one of the most valuable people in your organization. Now, here are 7 action exercises for you. First, solving problems is like solving mathematical equations. It is learnable with practice and repetition. Start by determining the biggest problems facing you today. Write them down. 2. Accept complete responsibility for solving the problems you encounter in your daily work, and then think about the solutions. 3. Define your biggest business or personal problem clearly. Write it down. Then ask, what exactly is the problem? 4. Why is this a problem? Could it be an opportunity in disguise? If so, what opportunity or lesson could this problem contain? 5. What else is the problem? Perhaps the real problem is something else, something you might not want to face. 6. What are all the possible solutions? And what else could be a solution? And number 7, select the best solution that is available to you right now and take action immediately. Part 3. Self-discipline and happiness. Your ultimate goal in life is to achieve your own happiness. No one else can do this for you. This personal desire is the motivation behind almost every behavior. Moreover, happiness is more emotional and spiritual than it is a matter of acquiring material things. In this part, you will learn how the practice of discipline in the most important areas of your life can bring you more joy and satisfaction than perhaps any other quality. Chapter 15. Self-Discipline and Happiness. Harry Emerson Fosdick wrote, "No horse gets anywhere until he is harnessed. No stream or gas drives anything until it is confined. No Niagara is ever turned into light and power until it is tunneled. No life ever grows great until it is focused, dedicated, disciplined." Your ability to achieve your own happiness is the true measure of your success in life. Nothing is more important. Nothing can replace it. If you accomplish everything of a material nature but you are not happy, you've actually failed at fulfilling your potential as a human being. In Chapter 4, I described how human beings are purposeful, striving toward achieving goals and end results. However, behind each goal lies another goal, and then still another goal, until you finally arrive at the primum movum, or first moving force in human life. This always turns out to be the desire to be happy. You can only truly be happy when you practice self-discipline, self-mastery, and self-control. It's only when you feel that you are in complete control of your life that you are truly content. The law of control. In my book, Maximum Achievement, I teach the importance of the law of control, which states that you feel happy to the degree to which you feel you are in control of your own life. You feel unhappy to the degree to which you feel you are not in control or controlled by other factors or people. Psychologists call this your locus of control. There are 50 years of research and hundreds of books and articles on the subject. They all conclude that stress and unhappiness arise when you feel controlled by outside circumstances. This is explained as the difference between an internal locus of control, happy, and an external locus of control, unhappy. You have an internal locus of control when you feel that you are in charge. You make your own decisions, and what happens to you in life is largely determined by yourself. When you have an internal locus of control, you feel that you are behind the wheel of your own life, and that you are in the driver's seat. You feel that you determine most of what happens to you. As a result, you feel strong, purposeful, and happy. On the other hand, you have an external locus of control to the degree to which you feel that you are not in control or that you have little ability to direct your own life. For example, if you feel that you are controlled by an arbitrary or critical boss, but you cannot afford to lose your job because you have no savings put aside, you experience high levels of stress and anxiety. This causes you to do a poor job, which makes it even more likely that your difficult boss will fire you, and this often brings about exactly the circumstances you fear. Another example is that you may feel you are controlled by a bad marriage or relationship from which you cannot escape. You may feel controlled by your bills, by the money you owe, and your obligations to maintain your standard of living. You may feel that you are controlled by your physical condition or lack of education. Many people feel they are controlled by their past because of a difficult childhood or upbringing, and that there is nothing they can do to change their situation. Many people feel that they are controlled by their own personalities, and that they are not able to change for the better. They say, "That's just the way I am." By saying this, they absolve themselves of all responsibility for exerting the necessary discipline and willpower to make the changes they know they need to make in order to live the kind of life they want to live and to be happy. The key to replacing an external locus of control with an internal locus of control is for you to decide today to take complete charge of your life. Realize and accept that you make your own decisions, and you are where you are and what you are because of yourself. If there's some area in your life with which you're not happy, discipline yourself to do whatever it takes to change the situation. The reason for happiness. It is often the size of the gap between your present situation and the conditions and circumstances that you feel that you need to be happy that determines whether you are happy or unhappy. This is very much a matter of your own evaluation and decision. There's an old saying that success is getting what you want, happiness is wanting what you get. When your income and your life are consistent with your goals and expectations, and you are content with your situation, you feel happy. If, on the other hand, for any reason your current situation is different from what you really want and expect, you will be discontented and unhappy. This state of contentment can be constantly changing. When you start off in your career, an income of $50,000 per year can seem like a huge achievement. But once you reach this goal, you start to be unhappy because you are not earning $100,000 or more. Some people are unhappy earning $1 million a year. Happiness is a byproduct. The interesting thing about happiness is that it is not a goal that you can aim at and achieve in and of itself. Happiness is a byproduct that comes to you when you are engaged in doing something that you really enjoy, while in the company of people who you like and respect. Earl Nightingale, perhaps the most famous and respected radio commentator on success in history, said that happiness is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. Whenever you feel that you are moving step by step toward something that is important to you, toward your most important goals, you automatically feel happy. You feel satisfied and content. You feel a tremendous sense of personal growth and well-being. 5 ingredients of happiness. Self-discipline is essential to happiness. Self-discipline requires both that you determine clearly what happiness means to you, and also that you work progressively each day toward the achievement of that ideal condition. In my experience and teachings, I found that there are 5 ingredients to happiness. A shortfall in any one of these areas can cause stress, unhappiness, and a feeling of being out of control. 5 ingredients of happiness. 1. Health and energy. This is perhaps the most important element of a good life. We strive for it all our lives. It is only when you enjoy high levels of pain-free health and a continuous flow of energy that you feel truly happy. In many cases, health is a deficiency need. This means that you do not think about your health very much until you are deprived of it. For example, you do not think about your teeth until you have a toothache. You do not think about your body until you have aches and pains of some kind. You must use discipline and willpower throughout your life to achieve and maintain high levels of health and fitness. Chapters 16 and 17 cover these in more detail. The second ingredient of happiness is happy relationships. Fully 85% of your happiness or unhappiness will come from your relationships with other people. As Aristotle said, man is a social animal. We are designed to function in society, working and living with other people at every stage of our lives. Your ability to enter into and maintain high-quality relationships with your spouse, children, friends, colleagues, and others is the true measure of the quality of your personality and your level of mental health. People with high levels of self-esteem and self-respect get along better with others, and have much happier lives. One of our biggest mistakes is to take our relationships for granted, especially our most important ones. We often don't think about them until there's a problem, and then we think of nothing else. The third ingredient of happiness is meaningful work. To be truly happy, you must be fully engaged with life. You must be doing things that keep you active and give you a sense of fulfillment. If you're making a living, you must be doing work that you enjoy, do well, and for which you are well paid. People are only truly happy when they feel they are making a contribution of some kind, that they are putting in more than they're taking out. You need to feel that what you do really makes a difference in the lives and work of other people. In studies of employee motivation, employers think that people are primarily motivated by money and benefits. But when employees are surveyed, the three factors that motivate them the most turn out to be challenging and interesting work, opportunities for growth and advancement, and pleasant co-workers. One of your most important responsibilities to yourself is to find the right job for you, and then, once you have it, throw your whole heart into it. If for any reason you don't feel like putting your whole heart into your work, it may be lacking one or more of the three essentials to a positive workplace. It may be a sign that this is not the right place for you. The fourth key to happiness is financial independence. Some of the greatest fears we experience are those of loss, failure, and poverty. We fear being destitute, without funds, and dependent on others. One of your chief responsibilities to yourself is to work toward financial independence and financial freedom throughout your life. The happiest of all people are those who have reached the point at which they no longer worry about money. This is not something you can leave to chance, but rather something that requires deliberate, purposeful action and tremendous self-discipline to achieve. Whenever you feel that there is a big gap between where you are today financially and where you would ideally like to be, you experience stress, worry, and unhappiness. The fifth ingredient of happiness is self-actualization. This is the feeling that you are becoming everything you are capable of becoming. This occurs when you feel you are realizing more and more of your true potential. Abraham Maslow is best known for his hierarchy of needs. He determined that people have both deficiency needs and being needs. People strive either to compensate for their deficiencies or to realize their potentials. He concluded that you only begin to evolve and develop to the highest levels possible for you when your deficiency needs are first satisfied. Deficiency needs. Your first deficiency need is for safety and survival. Satisfying this need requires that you have sufficient food, water, clothing, and accommodation to preserve your life and well-being. If for any reason your safety or survival is threatened, you'll become totally preoccupied with satisfying this need. You will experience tremendous stress, and you will be completely unhappy until you are safe once more. For example, think about being in a life-threatening situation. The second deficiency need that Maslow identified is the need for security. This need embraces financial, emotional, and physical security. You need to have enough money to provide for yourself, security in your relationships at work and at home, and physical security to assure that you are not in danger of any kind. If your security needs are threatened, you become completely preoccupied with them. For example, think about losing your job suddenly. How would you feel? The third deficiency need that Maslow identified is belongingness. Each person has a need to be in social relationships with others, both at home and at work. You need to be recognized and accepted by other people in your world. Each person needs to be comfortable in his or her relationships with others and seen and accepted as part of a team or group. Self-esteem needs. Once you have achieved a sufficient level of each of these basic needs, safety, security, and belongingness, you then turn to satisfy the higher needs for self-esteem and self-worth, your being needs. Your self-esteem is the core of your personality and largely determines how you feel about everything that happens to you. Everything you do in life is either to increase your self-esteem or to protect it from being diminished. Your self-esteem, How you feel about yourself and how much you like and value yourself determines your happiness more than any other single factor. Your self-esteem comes from many factors. When you are liked and accepted by others, living consistently with your highest values, doing a good job and being recognized for it, and moving progressively toward the achievement of your goals and ideals, then you naturally feel happy and satisfied. You feel valuable and very much in control. The highest human need. The highest need that Maslow identified was for self-actualization. He concluded that less than 2% of the population ever reaches this height of personal fulfillment. Most people remain so preoccupied with their deficiency needs and protecting or enhancing their self-esteem and their ego needs that they give little thought or effort to self-actualization. But it is only when you realize that you have tremendous personal potential and begin striving to do, be, and have more than ever before in some area that you begin to experience self-actualization and true happiness. The happiest of all people are those who feel that they are doing something worthwhile and important with their lives. They feel they are stretching and moving beyond anything they've ever done before. People devoted to self-actualization may be writing books or creating works of art. They may be climbing mountains or competing in sports. They may be building businesses or scaling the heights of their professions. The wonderful thing about self-actualization needs is that they can never be completely satisfied. As you continually strive throughout your life to be and have and do more than ever before, you experience a steady flow of happiness and contentment. You feel that you are becoming more and more of what you were truly meant to become. Never be satisfied. In each of these areas, whenever you exert self-discipline and willpower to overcome the tendency to take the easy way, you feel happier about yourself. When you take a leap of faith in the direction of your dreams, and then discipline yourself to keep going in spite of all obstacles and hardships, you feel powerful. Your self-esteem and self-confidence increases, and then as you move step by step toward your ideals, you feel genuinely happy. In the next chapter, you will learn how to incorporate self-discipline into your daily health habits to assure that you live a long, happy, healthy life. Now here are some action exercises for you. 1. Identify the areas of your life in which you feel the happiest and the most in control. How could you expand them? Number 2, identify the areas of your life in which you feel controlled by other people or factors. What could you do to resolve these situations? Number 3, identify those areas in your life where there is a gap between your current levels of accomplishment and what you would really like to achieve. What could you do to bridge these gaps? Number 4, identify the most pressing needs you have today that are not being fulfilled. How could you begin to satisfy these deficiency needs? Number 5, identify those activities that give you the greatest feeling of personal happiness, your peak experiences in life. What could you do to increase these moments of happiness? Number 6, identify those areas in life where you feel the most discontented. What steps could you take immediately to resolve these feelings of discontent? And number 7, define happiness for yourself. What does it mean? What would have to happen for you to feel truly happy? What could you do immediately to create this situation? Chapter 16. Self-Discipline and Personal Health. Abraham Joshua Heschel said, "Self-respect is the root of discipline. The sense of dignity grows with the ability to say no to oneself." More people are living longer and better today than ever before in human history, and your goal should be to be one of those people. There's no area in which self-discipline is more important than in your practices regarding your health. Your number one goal for yourself should be to live as long and as well as you possibly can. This requires lifelong self-discipline with your health habits. And as mentioned in Chapter 15, good health is one of the ingredients of overall happiness. The average life expectancy for males today, 2009, is 76.8 years. For females, 79.8 years, or approximately 80 years, and this number is increasing each year. This means that about 50% of the population will die below the age of 80, and about 50% will die above the age of 80. Your goal should be to defy the averages and live to age 90, 95, or even longer. Living a long life. Today, most causes of early death that had shortened life in the past have been eliminated in the industrialized world. Diseases such as tuberculosis, polio, malaria, cholera, typhus, and others have been wiped out through sanitation and modern medicine. The predominant causes of early deaths today are heart disease, cancer of all kinds, diabetes, and traffic deaths, all of which are subject to your control to a certain extent. You cannot predict or protect against the unpredictable like random accidents, but you can use your self-discipline to control the controllable in your life. 7 key health habits. The Alameda study, covering many thousands of people for more than 20 years, concluded there were 7 key health habits that contributed the most to long life. Number 1, eat regularly, rather than fasting, starving, or gorging. Eat normal, healthy meals, preferably 5 or 6 times per day, with your last meal fully 3 hours before you go to sleep. Number 2, eat lightly. Overeating makes you tired and sluggish, whereas eating lightly makes you feel healthy and alert. As Thomas Jefferson wrote, no one ever regretted eating too little after a meal. Number 3, don't snack between meals. When you eat, your body has to break down and digest the foods in your stomach so that they can move into your small intestine. This requires 4 to 5 hours. If you put food in on top of food that you have already eaten, the digestive process must start over again, with part of your food at one stage of digestion and another part of your food at another stage. This leads to upset stomach, heartburn, drowsiness, especially in the afternoon, and constipation. Number 4, exercise regularly. The ideal is about 30 minutes a day or 200 minutes per week. You can achieve this by walking, running, swimming, and or using exercise equipment. You should fully articulate every joint every day. Number 5, wear a seatbelt. Right up to age 35, the most common cause of premature death is traffic accidents. Number 6, don't smoke. Smoking is correlated with 32 different illnesses, including lung cancer, esophageal cancer, throat cancer, stomach cancer, heart disease, and a variety of other ailments. And the 7th key to long life is to drink alcohol in moderation. Studies show that 1 to 2 glasses of wine per day aid digestion and seem to be beneficial to your overall health. Anything in excess of that can lead to all kinds of problems, including overeating, traffic accidents, personality problems, and antisocial behavior. Each of these 7 factors that contribute to long life are completely a matter of self-discipline. These 7 factors are a matter of choice. They are actions that you can choose to take or not take deliberately. They are completely under your control. The 5 P's of excellent health. In my personal development seminars, we teach the 5 P's of excellent health. Number 1, proper weight. This requires the regular exercise of discipline and willpower in order to achieve your proper weight and then to maintain it throughout your life. But the payoff is tremendous. You look good, feel good, and generally feel more positive and in control of your life. Number 2, proper diet. As Benjamin Franklin said, eat to live rather than live to eat. According to studies of Olympic athletes from more than 120 countries, the 3 factors their diets have in common are: first, lean source protein; second, a wide variety of fruits and vegetables; and third, lots of water, about 8 glasses per day. When you begin this Olympic diet, you will feel more alert, awake, and aware all day long. Number 3 of the 5 P's is proper exercise. The most important exercise for long life is aerobic exercise. This requires that you get your heart rate up to a high level for 30 to 60 minutes 3 times per week. You can achieve this through brisk walking, running, cycling, swimming, or cross-country skiing. Exercise physiologists have determined that the exercise effect clicks in at about 25 minutes of vigorous exercise. At this point, your brain releases endorphins that give you a feeling of elation, or what is called a runner's high. This natural drug produced by your body can become addictive in a very positive way. People who develop the habit of regular, vigorous exercise find that it becomes easier and easier to do. They begin to look forward to the feeling of happiness they enjoy as the result of exercising aerobically. 4 is proper rest. This is very important. More than 60% of adults do not get enough sleep. They are suffering from what is called a sleep deficit. They go to bed a little bit too late, sleep poorly, arise a little bit too early, and go through the day in a form of fog. This phenomenon of not being sufficiently rested leads to poor performance, more mistakes, industrial accidents, car crashes, short tempers, personality problems, and many other difficulties. If you're living and working a normal life, you require about 8 hours of sleep each night. If you get only 6 or 7 hours of sleep when you actually require 8, you begin to build up this sleep deficit. By Thursday or Friday, when you get up in the morning, the first thing you think of is how soon you can go back to sleep again that night. When you start thinking about going to sleep again, at the moment that you arise, you know that you are not getting enough sleep. In addition to 8 hours of sleep per night, you need regular breaks from work, both weekends and vacations. When you take time off from work, you allow your mental and emotional batteries to recharge. After a 2 or 3 day weekend, when you go back to work, you will feel fully rested and ready to perform at your best. The 5th P is proper attitude. This is perhaps the most important of all. The quality that is most predictive of health, happiness, and long life is optimism. As you become more optimistic about yourself and your life, your health will also be better in every area. People who are positive and optimistic usually have stronger immune systems, and as a result they are seldom sick. They seldom get colds or flu. They bounce back quickly from hard work or fatigue. An optimistic person has a built-in Teflon shield against many of the diseases and ailments that affect the average person. Get your weight under control. The biggest single problem with self-discipline that people have today is overeating and becoming overweight. More than 60% of Americans are officially overweight, and more than 30% are obese, which is defined as being more than 30% above their normal weight. There's no area in which self-discipline is more necessary than in getting your weight under control and then keeping it under control for the rest of your life. You've heard it said that diets don't work. What this really means is that when you starve yourself to lose weight, you'll tend to put the weight back on almost as quickly as you lost it. There are many reasons for this. Each person has a certain metabolic rate. This is the rate at which you burn energy. This metabolic rate is set over the course of your lifetime by the amount of food you eat relative to the amount of exercise you do to work it off. In addition to your metabolic rate, you have what is called a set point. This is where your weight is set, like a thermostat, and to which it returns no matter how much you take off as the result of crash dieting. Change your set point. To lose weight permanently, you must change your set point to a lower number. To achieve this, the first thing you do is create a clear mental image of how you will look when you are at your ideal weight. Get a picture out of a magazine of someone who has the body you want to have, and then paste your photo where their face appears. You then begin a gradual process of changing the quality and quantity of what you eat permanently, with no intention of ever going back. Be prepared to work on this permanent change for at least a year. Remember, if you are overweight, it has taken you many years to get to where you are today. Be prepared to invest a lot of time in getting back. The fatal flaw in dieting. Many people diet and lose weight with the idea that as soon as they have dropped a certain number of pounds, they can reward themselves by going out and having a fabulous meal or consuming unlimited desserts. In other words, they use the idea of filling up on foods as the reward for losing weight in the first place. This approach is doomed to failure. Instead, set up a reward system for yourself that does not include food. Decide instead to buy yourself new clothes that will only fit you at your ideal weight. Take yourself and your family on a vacation where you engage in fun activities. Make a bet with someone that you will take off the weight and keep it off for 1 year. The formula for permanent weight loss. The key to perfect health can be summarized in 5 words. Eat less and exercise more. The only way that you can lose weight permanently is to burn off more calories than you consume. There's no other way. Moreover, you can only do this over an extended period of time, especially if you've allowed yourself to put on a lot of excess weight. In my program, Thinking Big, we teach the importance of avoiding the 3 white poisons: sugar, salt, and flour. Get rid of sugar. To lose weight permanently and to enjoy high levels of health and energy, you should eliminate all simple sugars from your diet. Simple sugars are contained in candy, cake, pastries, desserts, soft drinks, canned fruits, sugar in your coffee, and all other forms of sugar that people consume in large quantities every day. The fact is that you require no additional sugar to enjoy superb levels of physical health. Simply by eliminating all sugar and sugar products from your life, by going cold turkey on sugar, you'll begin to lose as much as 1 pound per day. Pass on the salt. In addition, you should eliminate all additional salt from your diet. Although the average American gets sufficient salt in all the different foods he eats, he consumes an extra 20 pounds of salt each year by eating foods with high salt content and by then adding additional salt to meals. When you consume excess salt, your body retains water in order to hold that salt in suspension. When you stop consuming excess salt and simultaneously drink 8 glasses of water per day, your body releases all the excess fluid, and you can actually experience weight drops of as much as 4 or 5 pounds in the first day. Avoid white flour products. Finally, eliminate all white flour products from your diet. This means all breads, pastries, pastas, rice, buns, rolls, and anything else made with white flour. White flour is actually an inert substance from which all nutrients have been removed and then bleached out. When you see the words enriched white bread, they mean that the white flour, which is essentially a dead food material, has been fortified with artificial chemical vitamins, almost all of which are then destroyed in the baking process. There is no food value in a white flour product. A simple change of diet. Not long ago, I got a letter from a 32-year-old man in Florida. He told me that he had read my books and listened to my programs for years. He had achieved a higher level of financial and career success than he ever imagined possible, but he was still carrying an extra 20 pounds of weight that he could not get rid of, no matter what he did. Then one day he listened to Thinking Big, and he heard my comments on the 3 white poisons. Fortunately, he was both disciplined and determined. He used his willpower to slam the brakes on these 3 foods and discontinue them completely. He said that what happened next was nothing short of miraculous. Within 6 months, he had dropped 22 pounds. When he wrote to me, he had kept them off for 2 years. He said that he looked different, felt different, was more attractive to women, and had higher levels of self-confidence and self-esteem. His whole life had improved since he dropped the excess weight. Live to be 100. Your goal in life should be to enjoy the highest levels of health and energy possible. This requires that you eat the right foods and fewer of them. It requires that you get regular exercise and move every joint of your body every single day. To enjoy superb physical health, you must get lots of rest and recreation. Now, here are 7 action exercises for you. 1. Idealize with regard to your health. If you could wave a magic wand and make your health perfect in every way, how would it be different from today? 2. Resolve to make the rest of your life the best of your life. What is the first thing you should change or do? 3. Get a complete medical examination and ask your doctor for advice on how to enjoy superb levels of physical health. Then, follow that advice. 4. Determine your ideal weight and set it as a goal. Use the goal-setting process you learned in Chapter 4 to make a plan to achieve it and keep it there for life. 5. Use mind-storming, described in Chapter 4 as well, and write out a list of at least 20 answers to the question, what can I do every day to enjoy superb levels of health and energy? Number 6, review the health habits and research discussed in this chapter and give yourself a grade ranging from 1 to 10 on how well you are practicing them. And number 7, decide on one specific action that you're going to take immediately to ensure that you live to be age 80, 90, and beyond. Chapter 17, Self-Discipline and Physical Fitness. Vince Lombardi said, "Mental toughness is many things and rather difficult to explain. Its qualities are sacrifice and self-denial. Also, and most importantly, it is combined with a perfectly disciplined will that refuses to give in. It is a state of mind that you could call character in action." For you to achieve and maintain high levels of physical fitness requires a lifetime of self-discipline and willpower. The good news is that physical fitness is its own reward. Not only do you feel good while you're exercising, but you feel wonderful about yourself the rest of the time. If your goal is to live a long, healthy, happy life and be fit and trim physically, there's no substitute for regular exercise. Fortunately, you do not have to train for the Olympics or a triathlon to enjoy superb levels of physical well-being. By building exercise and physical training into your daily routine, you can achieve physical fitness just by making a few small modifications to your lifestyle. Listen to the experts. Physical fitness specialists generally agree that you need to exercise 200 to 300 minutes per week to enjoy the maximum levels of physical well-being that are possible for you. This means that you need to exercise between 30 and 60 minutes, 5 to 7 times each week. At the low end, if you simply went for a 30-minute walk each morning before you started off for work, or each evening when you got home from work, as well as each weekend day, you'd be one of the healthiest people in our society. If you increase your exercise level to 60 minutes each time, 5 days per week, you'll be in the top 1 or 2% of physically fit people in the world today. Get started first thing. The best time to exercise is first thing in the morning. People who get up each morning and exercise for 30 to 60 minutes are much more likely to make exercise a permanent part of their daily routine. On the other hand, people who put off exercising until later in the day, until after work, almost invariably find that they are too tired or have too many other things to do. They procrastinate on exercising until another day, which often never comes. It takes tremendous discipline to get into and follow a regular exercise routine. But it's much easier if you can discipline yourself to get up in the morning and start exercising immediately. Trick yourself. Many people, including myself, trick themselves into exercising in the morning by putting their exercise clothes right next to the bed so that they trip over them when they get up. Before they are even awake, they find themselves pulling on their exercise clothes and running shoes and starting off around the block. Before they even know what has happened, they are halfway into their exercise routine, their heart rate is up, their lungs are puffing away, and they're feeling good about themselves. Whenever people come back from a morning run or any other form of morning exercise, they're always happy and smiling. This is because of the exercise effect that kicks in after 25 or 30 minutes. Their brains release endorphins and they feel exhilarated. Increase your intelligence. People who engage in aerobic exercise first thing in the morning have been shown to be brighter, more creative, and more intelligent throughout the day. They actually score higher on intelligence tests, and they seem to come up with more ideas to help them do their work better during the course of the day. The reason for this is obvious. When you engage in aerobic exercise first thing in the morning, you drive hyperoxygenated blood into your cerebral cortex, the part of your brain that you use for thinking, analyzing, and decision-making. This makes you wide awake and alert from first thing in the morning and then for several hours afterward. When you exercise as soon as you get up, you kick your metabolic rate into a higher gear. As a result, your body continues to burn calories all day long. You continue to lose weight for several hours after exercising. When you exercise first thing in the morning or any time during the day, you become hungry. However, because you are working out your body in such a healthy way, you will have a natural appetite for healthy foods. You will have little or no desire for sweet foods or desserts. Make exercise a part of your lifestyle. One of the best things you can do to achieve and maintain high levels of physical fitness is to join a gym or a health club and attend regular exercise classes. You can even pay a little more and get yourself a personal trainer who puts you through an exercise regimen 2 or more times per week. You're much more likely to discipline yourself to start and maintain a fitness routine if you have someone who is expecting you to be at class or monitoring you on a regular basis to make sure that you follow the exercise program to which you committed. Many people today are hiring personal trainers. A personal trainer can either come to your home or place of work, or you can go to a gym that has personal trainers on staff who will work with you on the specific equipment you want to use. People who use personal trainers are almost universally delighted with the results. They find that being accountable to a trainer exerts a positive influence on them, causing them to eat less so they have less weight to burn off and to work harder when they exercise so that they can earn the approval of the trainer. Join an organized sport. Organized sports are a wonderful way to achieve and maintain high levels of physical fitness. They're far more demanding in terms of time and schedule, but the payoff is often extraordinary. If you're a member of a sports league, whether that be baseball, tennis, football, soccer, racquetball, or anything else, and you have a coach or a trainer that you work with on a regular basis, you tend to be more focused and disciplined. You'll exercise more often and more vigorously, and you'll be fitter and trimmer than most other people. Develop new and better habits. Unfortunately, physical fitness and sports training require high levels of discipline, and few people are capable of starting and continuing this kind of exercise regimen. For better or worse, whatever you do repeatedly becomes a habit, and many people get out of the habit of regular exercise and never go back. Fortunately, it's never too late. At any time, you can decide that you are going to enjoy high levels of physical fitness. You can make a decision right now to start a physical fitness routine of some kind, and then set it as a personal test or challenge to see if you have the willpower and discipline to follow through on your resolution. You can start today. Some years ago, there was a 68-year-old woman living in a senior citizens' home who had never given much thought to physical exercise. She had worked hard, raised her family, become a grandmother, and was now living comfortably in a senior citizen's residence. One day she saw a television special on jogging. During this special, they interviewed a couple of people in their 50s and 60s who were running marathons. Some of them had started running later in life. This 68-year-old woman decided that she wanted to run a marathon as well. She drove down to a nearby store and bought the proper shoes for walking and running. That day she began her exercise regimen by walking around the neighborhood where she lived. Over the next few weeks she walked ever greater distances. She bought books and sought advice on how to exercise and train her legs for running. After 2 months she began jogging a little as part of her walking routine. After 6 months she began running as part of her walking and jogging routine. By the end of the first year, she had run in a mini marathon in her local community. By the time she was 75, she had completed 10 26.4-mile marathons and 2 50-mile cross-country marathons. And the most remarkable thing was that she had never run before the age of 68. So what's your excuse? If this 68-year-old woman could start exercising so late in life, why can't you? One of the greatest guarantors that you will live a long, happy life, being bright, alert, and full of energy, is that you begin a regular physical training program 4 or 5 days per week and continue it for the rest of your life. When you exert your self-discipline and willpower to achieve a high level of physical fitness and then maintain it year after year, you'll feel terrific about yourself. In the next chapter, you'll learn how self-discipline in marriage can have a wonderful effect in assuring a long life of happiness and fulfillment with another person. Now here are 7 action exercises for you. First, today is the day. Make a decision that you're going to achieve the best physical condition of your life in the months ahead, and then take action immediately. Number 2, Get a complete medical examination so that you know your condition and limits before you begin. Number 3, start walking 30 minutes each day, preferably first thing in the morning or, if not in the morning, right after work. 4, join a gym or health club. Pay for a year and make an appointment with yourself to work out 5 times a week, 60 minutes each time. 5, hire a personal trainer and have him or her guide you through an exercise program that includes aerobics, strength, and flexibility exercises each week. Number 6, invest in a treadmill, a life cycle, or an elliptical machine and put it in front of your television so that you can exercise as a part of your home and family life. And number 7, start gradually and work up slowly, resolving to exercise for several weeks before you notice a major difference. Be patient, persistent, and determined. Chapter 18. Self-discipline and marriage. It is better to control yourself than to win 1,000 battles. Then the victory is yours. It cannot be taken from you, not by angels or demons, heaven or hell. Buddha. Your ability to enter into a long-term, loving relationship is an important measure of your character and personality. Men and women are born to be two halves that make up one whole. They have different qualities and characteristics that when properly combined achieve completion and the balance and harmony that nature demands. The foundational qualities for marriage and loving relationships are trust and respect. Men and women can have many disagreements over the course of their married life together, but as long as the trust and respect between them endures, the marriage can go on indefinitely. If ever one or the other party can no longer trust the other or no longer respects the other, the relationship is finished. Many marriages end in divorce, and many divorced people have multiple marriages, each of which ends in failure. Yet some people get married once and stay married contentedly for the rest of their lives. Why is this? The key to a happy marriage. Perhaps the most important reason for a happy marriage is compatibility. The two people are ideally balanced with each other, with each one possessing complementary qualities and characteristics that combine comfortably to form a perfect balance. People often say that opposites attract. This is a misunderstanding. Opposites attract in only one area, and that is temperament. You will always be most compatible with a person who has an opposite or counterbalancing temperament to your own. For example, if you are outgoing and extroverted, you'll be most comfortable with a person who is more reserved and self-contained. If you are voluble and expressive, you'll be most compatible with a person who is relaxed and a good listener. Nature demands a balance in temperament for two people to be compatible and happy together. Birds of a feather. In all other areas, especially in the area of values, it is similarities that attract. Birds of a feather do flock together. You will always be attracted to people and most compatible with those who have the greatest number of fundamental values in common with yourself. All of love of any kind is a response to value. We love what we most value both in ourselves and others. When a couple is truly happy together, they seem to have very much the same values regarding family, money, ethics, work, children, politics, religion, and other people. People will often point out that there are happy couples who vote for different parties or come from different religious backgrounds. But the critical issue in balance and harmony revolves around the intensity with which a person values something. This intensity determines if a person is absolute and unbending or relaxed and flexible in his or her adherence to a particular belief about a particular part of life. People can love and live together happily for many years, even though they support different political parties, as long as political belief is not so important to either of them that it takes precedence over more important elements of their relationship, such as children, family, and values. Love is our greatest need in life. It is said that everything we do in life is either to get love or to compensate for a lack of love. Psychologists generally agree that the root cause of personality problems in adult life can be traced back to love withheld in infancy and childhood. People need love like roses need rain. Without sufficient love and acceptance, individuals exhibit all kinds of personality and physical problems. It is only possible to be happy when your needs for love are completely fulfilled. A happy marriage requires tremendous self-discipline and self-control. Love requires self-denial and sacrifice. When you're truly in love with another person, that person's happiness and well-being becomes more important than your own. You are willing to pay whatever price and make whatever sacrifice in order to ensure the well-being of the person you love. In the Christian Bible, in a letter to the Corinthians, the Apostle Paul says, "Love suffereth long, and is kind. Love envieth not. Love avengeth not itself, is not puffed up. Love doth not behave itself unseemly, seeketh not his own, is not easily provoked, and thinketh no evil. Love rejoices not in iniquity, but rejoices in the truth. Love beareth all things, believeth all things, hopeth all things, endureth all things." Love never fails. Different strokes require tolerance and understanding. Each person is an individual with unique and special characteristics that make him or her different from all other people. Each person has different ideas, tastes, desires, hopes, dreams, and expectations. Each person has had different experiences and developed different ways of seeing and dealing with the world around him or her. When you come together with another person in a loving relationship, no matter how close you feel to each other, and no matter how compatible you may be in many ways, you will still have areas of disagreement, dissatisfaction, and discontent. This is normal and natural, and something to be worked through by practicing self-discipline and self-control whenever these differences occur. Self-discipline in a relationship requires that you be completely honest and open, that you be yourself and never try to be someone or something else. Self-discipline and honesty require that you state clearly what you are thinking and feeling without anger or irritation, and that you listen calmly and patiently to the feelings, thoughts, and opinions of the other person. Male-female communication styles. Men and women are different in many ways. According to MRI scans, when men communicate, they use only 2 centers of their brains. When women communicate, they use 7 centers of their brains. It is as though men have 2 headlights with which to communicate, whereas a woman's brain is like a fully lit Christmas tree. Men can only process 1 sensory input at a time, whereas women can process multiple sensory inputs. When a man is watching television, he does not see or hear anything else, including words spoken to him from the side or behind. He becomes totally fixated on the visual images and words on the screen. When a man is driving a car, he has to turn down the radio to read the map. He has to turn down the television or radio to answer the telephone. He cannot read and listen or watch at the same time. Men can do many things extremely well, but they can only do one thing at a time. Men tend to be very focused. Women, on the other hand, can talk, make dinner, watch television, read the day's mail, and talk to her children or husband all at once. They are multidimensional and can process several inputs simultaneously. They can talk and listen at the same time and be aware of what other people around them are doing and saying. Women are relationship experts. They are very sensitive to other people. When a man and a woman attend a social gathering, within 10 minutes the woman will have done an analysis and assessment of the situation of each of the other people in the room, especially couples. In contrast, the man accompanying the woman will have noticed little or nothing. This is because men are simple and straightforward in their thinking, whereas women are complex, aware of small details, and extremely sensitive to the dynamics and nuances of the relationships of the people around them. A man can call his wife on the phone and say, "Hello." Although she has only heard one word, she will immediately ask, "What's wrong?" She can pick up a wealth of meaning and emotion from a single word on the phone or a single glance or look when he walks in the door. Relationship building takes effort. Because of the many differences between men and women, it takes tremendous discipline to build and maintain a long-term, loving, and happy relationship. Perhaps the most important area of mutual compatibility has to do with the discipline of listening. It's only when 2 people take the time to listen closely and carefully to each other when they speak, that the lines of communication stay open, and this is when love and harmony continue in the relationship. There are 4 simple disciplines of effective listening. They are mostly of importance to men who are notoriously poor listeners, especially with the women in their lives. This is not because they're not interested. It's simply because their minds are focused on something else and they are easily distracted. The disciplines of listening. First, listen attentively. The first discipline is to listen attentively without interrupting. Listen as though the other person is about to reveal a great secret or the winning lottery number, and you will hear it only once. When she wants to talk to you, if you're a man, put aside all possible distractions. Turn off the television or radio. Put down the newspaper or mail. Face her directly, lean slightly forward, and concentrate single-mindedly on what she is saying. The book, His Needs, Her Needs, points out that the most important need that a woman has from a man is affection. Affection is expressed by paying total attention to her when she speaks. Since you always pay attention to what you most value, when you pay close attention to another person while she speaks, you tell that person that she is of great value to you. This satisfies the deepest subconscious needs of a woman to feel valuable, important, and respected. Pause before replying. The second discipline of listening is to pause before replying. Take a few seconds to carefully consider what he or she has said. When you pause, you avoid the risk of interrupting the other person if she is just reformulating her thoughts. You tell her that you value what she said and that you're giving her words careful consideration. Another advantage of pausing, of allowing a silence in the conversation, is that it enables you to hear not only what was said, but also what was not said, or what was said between the lines. The actual message soaks into a deeper level of your mind, enabling you to understand better and to therefore respond with greater awareness and sensitivity. Ask for clarification. The third discipline of effective listening is to question for clarification. Never assume that you automatically know what the other person is thinking or feeling. Instead, if you're at all unclear, simply ask, "How do you mean?" or "How do you mean exactly?" It is when you ask questions and seek clarity and meaning that you demonstrate to the other person that you really care about what he or she is saying, and that you are genuinely interested in understanding how he or she thinks and feels. Feed it back. The fourth discipline of effective listening is for you to feed back what the other person has said and paraphrase it in your own words. This is the acid test of listening. This is where you demonstrate to the other person that you were genuinely paying attention. It is only when you can repeat back what the other person has just said in your own words that you prove to him or her that you were really listening. Most problems in relationships arise because of poor communication. The couple does not talk together often enough, or one or the other does not listen attentively when the other wants to speak. Each person has an emotional need to talk a certain amount with his or her spouse. Each person also has an emotional need to listen a certain amount. The most compatible couples are those in whom the desire to talk and listen are in balance with each other. There is an easy ebb and flow of conversation, punctuated with comfortable silences. Each person gets a chance to fulfill his or her need for both talking and listening, and both parties are content. Total commitment is essential. Love and marriage require total commitment on the part of both people. It takes tremendous discipline to go all in a relationship. What's more, this is also tremendously liberating. It is only when you are totally committed to a relationship with a single person that you are completely free to turn your attention toward fulfilling your potential in the other aspects of your life. One of the most important disciplines in a marriage or relationship is that of faithfulness. Because we live in a highly sexualized society, there are temptations and provocations around us all the time and virtually everywhere we go. It often takes considerable self-discipline and self-control to be completely loyal to your spouse throughout your married life. There are two ways to help you avoid the regular temptations that can damage or even destroy the most loving of relationships. First, make a decision in advance that you will never be unfaithful to your spouse. Like drawing a line in the sand, make the decision in advance that no matter what happens, you will not stray for any reason. Second, discipline yourself to stay out of harm's way. Refuse to go anywhere or do anything where temptation may exist. Except when essential for business purposes, avoid having lunch, drinks, or dinner alone with a member of the opposite sex. Remember, there is safety in crowds. Continually imagine, everywhere you go and in everything you do, that your spouse is standing right next to you, watching and listening to what you say and do. Imagine that anything and everything you do, no matter where you are, is going to be reported back to your spouse within 24 hours. Use your discipline and willpower to build and maintain a reputation for being a completely honest and faithful spouse. Be willing to change. Every marriage is a work in progress. As time passes, the nature of your marriage will change, usually in positive and constructive ways. To keep your relationship happy, harmonious, and growing, you must be willing to change in response to changing circumstances, especially having children and watching them grow up. You need to be prepared to change with age, new jobs and careers, physical moves from one part of the country to another, changes in financial circumstances, and changes in health. Flexibility is absolutely essential to a long, happy marriage. There are only 4 ways that you can change your life. First, you can do more of some things. Second, you can do less of other things. Third, you can start something that you have never done before. And fourth, you can stop doing certain things altogether. Whenever you are experiencing resistance or frustration, or you are confronted with the need for change, ask yourself, is there anything that I need to do more of, less of, start, or stop doing? The 4 questions you should ask. On a regular basis, you should sit down with your spouse and later with your children and have the courage to ask them these 4 questions. 1. Is there anything that I'm doing that you would like me to do more of? 2. Is there anything that I am doing that you would like me to do less of? 3. Is there anything that you would like me to start doing that I am not doing today? And 4. Is there anything that I am doing that you would like me to stop doing altogether? When you have the courage and discipline to ask these questions of your spouse and your children on a regular basis, you'll be amazed at the quality and depth of the answers you receive. You will get continual guidance on how you can modify and adjust your behaviors to maintain higher levels of harmony, happiness, and love with your spouse and the other members of your family. Your spouse should be your best friend. Love and marriage are perhaps the most important elements of a happy, fulfilling life. They require a lifelong exercise of self-discipline and willpower to create and maintain harmony. They require that you be open, honest, and candid at all times. Most of all, a happy, loving marriage requires that you see your spouse as your best friend. There should be no one in the world who you would rather spend time with more than him or her. There should be no one with whom you are more open and honest than with him or her. When you see your spouse as your best friend and treat him or her as such, you can create a loving relationship that lasts all the days of your lives. As Emmett Fox, a spiritual writer and teacher, once wrote, "Love is by far the most important thing of all. It casts out fear. It is the fulfilling of the law. It covers a multitude of sins. Love is absolutely invincible. There is no difficulty that enough love will not cure, no disease that enough love will not heal, no door that enough love will not open, no gulf that enough love will not bridge, no wall that enough love will not throw down, and no sin that enough love will not redeem." It makes no difference how deeply seated may be the trouble, how hopeless the outlook, how muddled the tangle, how great the mistake. A sufficient realization of love will dissolve it all. If only you could love enough, you would be the happiest and most powerful being in the world. In the next chapter, you will learn specifically why self-discipline is so important when raising happy, healthy, and self-confident children. Now, here are 7 action exercises. 1. What is the most important single action you could take right now to increase the love and harmony in your marriage or relationship? 2. What disciplines or practices could you develop that would improve the quality of your marriage for the other person? 3. Identify one behavior you could engage in that would improve your communications in your marriage. 4. Sit down with your spouse and ask him or her for ideas on things that you should do more of, less of, start, or stop doing. 5. Identify the 2 qualities that you most admire in your partner. 6. Identify the areas in which you and your partner are the most compatible. And 7. Identify the most important values that you and your partner share. Chapter 19. Self-Discipline and Children. Bertrand Russell wrote, "Right discipline exists not in external compulsion, but in habits of mind which lead spontaneously to desirable rather than undesirable activities." You can calculate the value or importance of something you do by measuring the possible consequences of doing it or not doing it. Something that is important is something that has significant potential consequences, like jumping out of the path of a speeding car. Bringing children into the world has consequences that can go on for 80 years, which is the average life expectancy of a person today and beyond, into the lives of your grandchildren and great-grandchildren. This is why becoming a parent is one of the most important things you will ever do. As an adult, you are still affected today by things that your grandparents did or didn't do to or for your parents. The way you treat your children is strongly influenced by the way your parents treated you. It has consequences that cascade down the generations, and it has an enormous influence on their lifelong happiness and well-being. Your greatest responsibility. When you have a child, a high level of self-discipline is essential in order to fulfill your commitment and deliver on your responsibility. The day your first child is born, you have taken on a minimum 20-year commitment to do everything possible to raise your child as a happy, healthy, and self-confident adult. At every stage of your child's life, your words, actions, non-actions, and behaviors are shaping and influencing that child and determining how he or she will turn out as an adult. The greatest need that a child has is for an unbroken flow of unconditional love and acceptance from his or her parents. Children need love almost as much as they need oxygen. The amount of love that a child receives, especially in his or her formative years, is the critical determinant of how healthy and happy he or she becomes as an adult. How children spell love. How does a child spell love? T-I-M-E. Children determine how valuable and important they are and develop their self-esteem and self-worth by measuring the amount of time that the most important people in their lives spend with them when they are young. There's no substitute for time, and once gone, you cannot make it up. Perhaps the greatest regret reported by parents is that I didn't spend enough time with my child when he or she was young. When you become a parent, you must discipline yourself and organize your life so that you can spend ample time with your child throughout his or her growing years. You must discipline yourself to cut back, reduce, downsize, and eliminate other activities that prevent you from being an excellent parent. A wake-up call. Some years ago, a good friend of mine got married. He was an avid golfer, and he regularly played golf 5 times a week, often flying south in the winter for golf vacations when his local golf courses were covered with snow. Within 4 years of marrying, he and his wife had 4 children. Nonetheless, he still tried to play golf several times a week, taking time off from his business during the week and playing on weekends. Finally, his wife confronted him and told him that he was not spending enough time with his young children. His golf was taking up too many hours that would be better spent at home with her and with the children, especially during their most vulnerable and sensitive years. He suddenly realized that his life had changed. The things that he could do when he was single were no longer possible when he had young children. Being highly responsible and self-disciplined, he immediately cut back his golf to once per week and rechanneled his time and energy into his family. He told me later that it made an extraordinary difference to his marriage and to his relationships with his young children. Setting new priorities. When you get married, your life goes through a major shift. Your lifestyle changes and many of your common activities lose their importance and urgency. When your first child is born, your life shifts again. It often feels as if the first stage of your life, your youth, has dropped off, like the first stage of a rocket, and you are now on a different trajectory in life. In fact, it's not uncommon for couples to change their lives completely when their first child is born. They cut back or discontinue many of their previous social activities. They stop dining and drinking with friends, and they stop going out socially on the weekends. They begin to build a different life together around their home and children. The children become the focus of their time and attention. The children become the primary subject of their conversations. Responsible parents approach child-rearing as the most important part of their lives. They plan and organize their time and activities so they can fulfill this responsibility at a high level. Long-term thinking. Children force you to think long-term. When you realize that everything that you do or fail to do with your children in their formative years will have a lasting impact for generations to come, you become far more thoughtful and sensitive to the things you say and the way you treat them. When you are young and single, you can let it all hang out. You can blow up, get angry, express your feelings freely, and be your own person. But when you have a child, you need to impose a higher level of discipline and self-control on yourself. Children are hypersensitive to the influence of their parents during their formative years. They see and experience each word and reaction of their parents, and they incorporate those words and actions into their worldview and self-image. In almost every case, when you see a dysfunctional adult, you can trace it back to dysfunctional parenting. When that dysfunctional adult was a child, their parents did or said things to them that hurt them, confused them, scared them, and created within them feelings of insecurity, anger, and inferiority. The greatest gift is love. The greatest gift you can give children is to let them know that you love them 100% of the time and that your love for them never changes, no matter what happens. There is no greater blessing for children than to know with complete confidence that the most important people in their life, their parents, love them completely and accept them totally, no matter what they do or what mistakes they make. Children are not little adults. They do not have the ability to make good judgments about the right or wrong things to do. It takes them many years of trial and error and sometimes bitter experience to develop the wisdom and judgment that enables them to make good decisions for themselves and their futures. The kindest way to treat your children when they make mistakes is to behave with calmness and compassion and to help them learn the lessons contained in the problem or difficulty. Discipline versus development. Many parents think that their job is to discipline their children by punishing them when they make a mistake. Back in the 1930s, when my parents were growing up, it was generally taught that the job of the parent was to break the will of the child. This philosophy led to a generation of broken children, whose parents felt that it was their duty to mold them and shape them into little people that their parents found to be acceptable. But the fact is that each child is unique and different from all other people in the world. Each child comes into this world with his or her unique temperament, personality, and natural leanings toward different interests and activities. Parents are often amazed to see that each of their children is very different from each other child, even though they come from the same parents and grow up in the same household. In my experience, each child marches to the beat of a different drummer. No matter what you do to or for them, they have their own special destiny. They're going to grow up with a particular personality, and they'll be attracted to particular people and activities. Your main job is to create an environment in which they feel safe and confident enough to follow their inner promptings and personal inclinations. Question your beliefs. A philosopher once said, "Before I had children, I had 4 philosophies about raising children. Now I have 4 children and no philosophies." Each child is different from any other child and from any other person. When raising your children, be prepared to question your most cherished beliefs about what they should or should not do, say, or be. Above all, be prepared to admit that you could be wrong, because you are going to make more mistakes than you can possibly imagine. Perhaps the most important responsibility you have as a parent is to instill values in your children, especially the value of self-discipline. One of the most common desires that parents have for their children is to raise them with a sense of self-responsibility and self-control. Parents want their children to be self-disciplined and to practice self-mastery and self-denial, or the ability to delay gratification. Set a good example. Albert Schweitzer once wrote that you must teach men at the school of example, for they will learn at no other. The most powerful influence you have on your children is the example that you set for them all the time they are growing up. Your children are always watching you out of the corners of their eyes or from another room. They take everything in. They measure and analyze your behaviors, especially when you are under stress. By watching the way you behave, especially when you're angry or upset or when they have made a mistake, they develop a clear picture for themselves of how adults are supposed to behave in the world. Your example sets the standard that they consider to be the normal way that adults act in various circumstances, especially when under stress. Your children, if they admire and respect your example, will strive to emulate you while they are growing up and then continuing on for the rest of their lives. Perhaps the best question you can ask yourself over and over is, what kind of a family would my family be if everyone in it were just like me? Be a role model. When you practice self-discipline and self-control, especially when you feel angry or upset, your children absorb the lesson. Later, when they are angry or upset, they will practice self-discipline and self-control as well. In a recent study, researchers concluded that children form their idea of the world by watching how their mother deals with the ups and downs of daily life. If their mother seems calm, relaxed, and in control, children assume that this is a logical and rational world, so they are much more likely to practice calmness and self-control themselves. If their mother seems to be frustrated, angry, or overwhelmed by too much to do and too little time, children absorb the worldview that life is confused and stressful. Building character. The most important job you have as a parent is to instill values and to build character in your children. You do this by teaching them what values are important, especially those of integrity and truth-telling. You set yourself up as a role model and demonstrate the values you want your children to have in every situation where those values are called for. Because the core value of character is integrity, the most important value that you instill in your children is truthfulness. Much to the shock of most parents, children lie. When they are growing up, they don't tell the truth. They tell both little and big lies. Often this comes as a surprise to parents who feel that somehow they must have failed their children in some way. But don't worry. Lying is a normal and natural part of childhood. It's a form of communication that children are trying out on you to see if it works. If children find that telling lies is an effective way to get the things they want quickly and easily, they will lie on a regular basis. For example, I once asked my son Michael a question, and he gave me an answer that I knew was completely untrue. I asked him, "Michael, why did you say that? You know that's a barefaced lie." Michael, who was 10 years old at the time, answered candidly, "Well, I just thought I'd give it a try." Children will give lying a try to see if it works. If it doesn't, they'll try something else, and that something else is usually telling the truth. Always tell the truth. One day my wife and I read a question in a book on child raising, in which it said that, if your children lie to you, who has made them afraid to tell the truth? That was a real eye-opener for us. We immediately sat down with our children and told them, from now on, always tell the truth. We promise you that you will never get into trouble for telling the truth. If you tell a lie, we will be upset and you'll be punished. But if you tell the truth, you'll always be okay with us. From that day onward, with few exceptions, our children tried us out with the truth. Over time, they got into a habit of telling the truth, no matter what it was. And we kept our promise. We never punished our children for telling the truth. One day as we were sitting around the family dinner table, one of our children was talking about his friend who had told him to lie to us about something he was planning to do. My son said, "I told him that I never lie to my parents." His friend said, "Everyone lies to their parents." My son repeated, "I never lie to my parents because I don't have to. I can always tell them the truth and everything will be okay." Our 3 children listened to this and they all agreed. They told us that this was a great family because they never had to lie to their parents. The foundation of self-confidence. When children tell the truth, they grow up straight and strong with high self-esteem and high levels of self-confidence. They have higher levels of self-respect and personal pride. They look you straight in the eye and tell you exactly what they are thinking and feeling. They're very different from children who must continually lie or shade the truth in order to get things past their parents. In raising your children, there will be countless times when they will do or say something of which you disapprove, or which makes you angry. During these times, you must discipline yourself to think before you act or react, controlling yourself and your temper. You must remind yourself that what you do in a moment of stress is registered and recorded by your child and can have an effect on him or her for an indefinite period into the future. Children learn values by teaching and example, given to them repeatedly while they're growing up. When you teach them values and personally practice the values of love, especially for your spouse, compassion for those who are less fortunate, generosity with those who need it, patience when it is required, tolerance for different viewpoints, courage in the face of difficulties, and perseverance in the face of setbacks, your children will adopt these behaviors as norms. They will see them as the appropriate way to respond to these kinds of situations as they grow up. The power of forgiveness. One of the most important of all values that you teach your children is forgiveness. The inability to forgive lies at the root of most negative emotions. When you practice forgiveness, when you freely let things go, your children grow up with the ability to forgive as well. This saves them from years of unhappiness as a result of someone hurting them in some way, which will always happen. My parents were adamant and inflexible. They had low self-esteem as a result of difficult Depression-era childhoods. As a result, once they had taken a position on any subject, however wrong, they could never back down and admit that they were wrong. I resolved that when I had children, I would do exactly the opposite. From the time my daughter, Christina, was a little girl, if I shouted at her for any reason, I would always go to her and apologize. I would say, "I should not have shouted at you. I was wrong. Will you forgive me?" When you raise children, they will make countless mistakes while they are growing up. Sometimes you will overreact. Unless you are a saint, this is almost impossible for you not to do. However, whenever you make a mistake with your child, you should have the courage and compassion to realize that destructive criticism from a parent is extremely painful to a child. Go and take it back. Apologize and ask your child for forgiveness. Even if the child has misbehaved, this does not justify reacting in a negative and hurtful way towards your child. Just say, "I apologize. Will you forgive me?" And they always will. The minute you apologize and ask your children to forgive you for anything that you may have done to hurt them, you liberate them from feelings of negativity or inferiority. By taking it back, you allow them to be happy and confident once more. Teaching your children is never-ending. Developing proper values and teaching proper conduct to your children is a lifelong job. You cannot give a single lecture on truthfulness and compassion and then forget about it. You must repeat the lesson by discussion and example over and over, year after year, all the time while your children are with you. In a letter to Miss Manners, a parent asked, "How long does it take to teach my children table manners? No matter what I say, it seems that my children still eat in an unmannered and disorganized way." Miss Manners responded by saying, "Be patient. It takes about 15 years of continual repetition to teach your children table manners, and even then there are no guarantees that your instruction will be successful." Be their role model. Of course, if you want your children to behave in a certain way, you must model that method of behavior continually, year after year. If you want your children to dress properly, you must dress properly. If you want your children to groom themselves properly, you must groom yourself properly as well. If you want your children to be organized and efficient, you must show them the way by being organized and efficient yourself. Remember each day that your children are going to behave the way that you behave for the rest of their lives. When you think like this, it forces you to practice higher levels of self-discipline and self-control, knowing that the consequences of your behaviors are going to affect your children's chances in life many years from now. The discipline of raising children so that they grow up with high self-esteem, being positive and confident in themselves and their own value, is one of the most important things you ever do. The results of your child rearing will last you all the years of your life. Now, here are 7 action exercises. 1. What 2 qualities would you like your children to identify with you by observing your behavior? 2. What 2 qualities would you like most to instill in your children, and how could you achieve this? 3. If you were an excellent role model for your children, how would your behaviors be different starting today? 4. What mistakes have your children made that you should forgive and forget about starting immediately? 5. What actions are you going to take immediately to spend more time with your children? 6. What actions should you take to instill the quality of truthfulness in your children? And 7. How could you encourage and reward your children so that they practice greater self-discipline, self-control, and self-mastery? Chapter 20. Self-discipline and friendship. Everything you want in life has a price connected to it. There's a price to pay if you want to make things better, a price to pay for leaving things as they are, a price for everything. Harry Brown. Fully 85% of your happiness will come from happy relationships with other people. Unfortunately, fully 85% of your problems and unhappiness will be associated with other people as well. Chapters 18 and 19 offered some ideas on how to have a happier marriage and raise happier children. But in addition to your family, of course, your friendships are also important to your well-being. It therefore behooves you to become absolutely excellent at human relations. Fortunately, this is a learnable skill. You can become one of the most popular people in your work and social circle by simply engaging in the behaviors that other popular people practice on a regular basis. Aristotle wrote that man is a social animal. This means that we define ourselves in terms of our relationships with other people. Our destinies are determined by our interactions with others and theirs with us. We only learn who we are and know about ourselves through interacting with other people. The core of personality. Psychologists tell us that everything we do is either to build our self-esteem or to protect it from being torn down by other people. Each person is hypersensitive about their own sense of personal value and importance. Your self-esteem, how you feel about yourself, how much you like yourself, is largely determined by your self-image, or the way you see and think about yourself. Your self-image is made up of 3 parts, like the 3 wedges of a pie, each touching the others. First, your self-image is made up of the way you see yourself. This largely determines the way you walk, talk, behave, and interact with others. The second part of your self-image is the way you think others see you. If you think other people like, respect, and admire you, you see yourself in a positive way, and you enjoy higher feelings of self-esteem and self-importance. The third part of your self-image is the way people actually do see you and treat you. If you think you are well-liked and popular, and someone treats you in a rude or disrespectful way, it can be a shock to your self-image and lower your self-esteem. On the other hand, if you see yourself as an average person, and the people you meet treat you as though you are a valuable and important person, you can experience a positive shock to your self-image that causes you to like and value yourself even more. The key to happiness. You are only truly happy when you feel that all 3 parts of your self-image coincide. You're happy only when you feel that the way you see yourself, the way you think others see you, and the way they actually see you all seem to be consistent in a particular situation. In life, you seek out friendships and relationships with people who make you feel comfortable with the way you see yourself and think about yourself. When you are with people who treat you as if you are valuable and important, you enjoy higher levels of self-esteem. You like and respect yourself more. You feel happy in their presence. For example, in school, you always did better and got better grades when you felt that the teacher liked you and cared about you. At work, perhaps the greatest motivator is an attitude of consideration on the part of the boss toward the employee. Whenever an employee feels that the boss cares about him as a person, rather than just as an employee, he feels more valuable and performs his job better. The law of indirect effort. The secret to building and maintaining wonderful friendships and relationships is simple. It is for you to practice the law of indirect effort in every interaction with other people. You must get out of yourself and your own preoccupations in order to get into other people and how they might be thinking and feeling. Therefore, if you want to have a friend, you must first be a friend. If you want people to like you, you must first like them. If you want people to respect you, you should first respect them. If you want to impress others, you should first be impressed by them. In this way, by approaching people indirectly, you appeal to their deepest subconscious needs. Raise other people's self-esteem. The deepest subconscious need that people have is the need to feel important. Since you have this need as well, whenever you practice the law of indirect effort and focus on making other people feel important, you reinforce their self-image, increase their self-esteem, and make them feel happy about themselves and, by extension, about yourself. Whenever you say or do anything to raise the self-esteem of another person, you trigger a boomerang effect that causes your own self-esteem to go up at the same time and in the same measure. You can never do or say anything to make another person feel better about himself without simultaneously feeling better about yourself. It takes tremendous self-discipline and self-control for you to rise above yourself. Instead of trying to get other people to like you and be impressed by you, focus first on liking them and being impressed by them. 7 ways to make people feel important. The key to excellent relationships with others is quite simple. Make them feel important. To the degree to which you can make other people feel important, starting with the members of your family and then extending outward to your friends and co-workers, you will become one of the most popular people in your world. There are 7 ways to make other people feel important. These are simple practices that you can learn through repetition. Number 1, accept people the way they are. One of the deepest cravings of human nature is to be accepted by other people without judgment, evaluation, or criticism. Psychologists call this behavior unconditional positive regard. This is when you accept the other person completely without reservation for exactly the way he or she is. Because most people are judgmental and critical, to be unconditionally accepted by another person raises that person's self-esteem, reinforces his or her self-image, and makes that person feel happy about him or herself. In the movie Bridget Jones' Diary, the entire focus was on the discovery by Bridget that she had found a man who likes me just the way I am. This was considered to be such an amazing thing to happen. All her friends were astonished that anyone could ever have a relationship based on unconditional acceptance by another person. When you look at other people and give them a genuine smile, they feel happier about themselves. Their self-esteem goes up. They feel more valuable and important. When you stop thinking about yourself and the impression you are making on others, and instead start thinking about others and the impression they are making on you, you can relax. You take a deep breath and just smile at people when you meet them and greet them, both at home and at work. It's one of the most powerful self-esteem and relationship-building behaviors you can do. Smiling at people makes them feel important and valuable. Number 2, show your appreciation for others. Whenever you appreciate another person for anything that he or she has done or said, you raise that person's self-esteem and make him or her feel more important. Expressions of appreciation from small nods and smiles all the way through to cards, letters, and gifts raises people's self-esteem and causes them to like themselves more. As a result, by the law of indirect effort, they will like you more as well. The simplest way to express appreciation is to simply say, "Thank you." The words "thank you" are deeply appreciated in any language, anywhere in the world. I have traveled in 90 countries, and the very first thing I learn is the words for please and thank you. Each time you use those words, people brighten up, smile, and feel happy to be in your presence. Every time you say thank you, it has an almost magical effect on the other person. It makes them feel important and far happier about being in your presence and helping you with anything you need. Number 3, be agreeable. The most welcome people in every situation are those who are generally agreeable and positive with others. On the other hand, argumentative people who question, complain, and disagree are seldom welcome anywhere. When you nod, smile, and agree with another person when he or she is talking or expressing an opinion, you make that person feel intelligent, respected, valuable, and important. When you are agreeable with another person, even if they say something with which you may not be in complete accord, you make that person feel happy to be in your presence. In my work as a professional speaker, I meet thousands of people each year. They come up to me and often express opinions on subjects of which I am very well informed, and they obviously are not. Sometimes they say ridiculous things that are either not true or that make no sense. In every case, however, I smile and agree, nodding and asking them questions and listening to them express their ideas and opinions. They go away feeling that they've had a good conversation with the speaker and that I probably agree with them. It costs me nothing, and it makes them happy. It makes them feel important. Number 4, show your admiration. People usually invest a lot of personal emotion in their possessions, traits, and accomplishments. When you admire something belonging to another person, it makes them feel happy about themselves. As Abraham Lincoln said, "Everybody likes a compliment." Express your admiration for a person's appearance and specific items of their clothing or dress. Men are especially complimented when you say something nice about their ties or their shoes. Women enjoy being complimented about their hair or any other item of their appearance. People spend a lot of time putting themselves together before they go out. You can also compliment a person's traits or characteristics, saying things such as, "You are certainly persistent." People invest their entire lives developing traits and qualities, especially positive qualities, and they feel flattered when you notice and compliment them on those qualities. Compliment a person's accomplishments. Tell people how much you admire their home or office or the business they have built or the position they've achieved in that business. Number 5, pay attention to others. Perhaps the most powerful way to raise a person's self-esteem is to listen to them attentively when they speak. In my book, The Power of Charm, my co-author Ron Arden and I explain how listening to a person while they talk on any subject in a way that is focused is perceived as charming behavior. The key to great listening is for you to ask questions and then hang on every word of the answers. When the person slows down or comes to the end of a statement, ask another question. Lean forward attentively. Listen without interrupting. Listen as though what the person is saying is the smartest and most interesting thing you've ever heard. When a person is attentively listened to, their brain releases endorphins. As a result, they feel happy about themselves. Their self-esteem goes up. What's more, they associate this happy feeling with being in your presence. From this, that person will like you more and find you to be a more interesting and intelligent person. Number 6, never criticize, condemn, or complain about anything, whether it be directly or indirectly. Never do or say anything that lowers a person's self-esteem or makes them feel less important or valuable. Refuse to gossip or discuss other people in a negative way. Never say anything about a person that you would not say to their face. The most harmful force in all of human relationships is destructive criticism. It lowers a person's self-esteem, makes them feel angry and defensive, and causes them to dislike the source. So never complain about people or situations that you don't like. The most common word to describe the most popular people in every field is the word nice. When you think of a business that you like to patronize, or a restaurant you like to visit, you always think of the people there as being nice. Whenever you recommend or refer someone to someone else, you always mention that he or she is a nice person. In sales and business, the nice people are always the most successful. People like to buy from them, buy again, and then recommend them to their friends. People enjoy seeing nice people and they look forward to seeing them again. When asked what they mean by the word nice, people say that he or she is cheerful. The more positive you are, the more cheerful you are likely to be. The more cheerful you are, the nicer personality you will have. The nicer personality you have, the more people will look forward to seeing you and being around you. Number 7, be courteous, concerned, and considerate of everyone you meet. Think of these as the 3 C's: courtesy, concern, and consideration, and practice them with everyone you meet. When you treat a person with courtesy and respect, he or she feels more valuable and important. As a result of making a person feel more valuable and respected, that person will in turn value and respect you even more as well. When you express concern about things that are happening in a person's life, they warm up to you and like you more. When a person has a difficult situation and you express your concern or compassion, you touch their heart. You connect with their emotions. Through this, you make yourself a more likable person. Consideration is the third of the 3 C's. When you practice consideration, you discipline yourself to do and say things to people that make them feel more valuable and important. Be concerned about other people. When you meet a person for the first time, or again after a period of time, ask them how they are, and then listen closely to the answers. People will often share with you a concern or problem in their lives. When they do, practice consideration and sensitivity. Treat the problem or difficulty as though it were extremely important to you. Amazingly enough, when you act as if you are really interested and concerned with a problem or situation in another person's life, you very soon start to feel genuinely affected emotionally by the other person. The rule for building lifelong friendships and wonderful relationships is simple. Resolve that from now on, when people leave your presence, they will feel much better than they did when they entered your presence. Practice all the ideas above to make people feel important. Look for ways to raise people's self-esteem and reinforce their self-image. Make them feel as though they are valuable and worthwhile. Furthermore, everything that you do or say to make another person feel important makes you feel important as well. Now here are 7 action exercises. 1. Make a list of the most important friends in your work and personal life. What could you do to make them feel better about themselves? Number 2. Identify the first thing you could do in every meeting or encounter to make the other person feel important. Number 3. Resolve to make each person feel more valuable and worthwhile because he or she spoke to you. Number 4. Practice non-judgmentalism in all your relationships. Always assume the best of intentions on the part of others. Number 5. Imagine that each person you meet has only a short time to live, and you are the only person who knows. Number 6. Find something about each person that is impressive to you, and then tell the other person how impressed you are. And 7. Imagine that there is a hidden camera and microphone recording every interaction you have with other people. How would you behave differently? Chapter 21. Self-discipline and peace of mind. James Allen wrote, "Men are anxious to improve their circumstances, but are unwilling to improve themselves. They therefore remain bound. The man who does not shrink from self-crucifixion can never fail to accomplish the object upon which his heart is set. This is true of earthly as of heavenly things. Even the man whose object is to acquire wealth must be prepared to make great personal sacrifices before he can accomplish his objective. And how much more so he who would realize a strong and well-poised life. You require high levels of self-discipline if you truly desire to develop all your inner resources and fulfill your true potential. Throughout the ages, in all religions and philosophies, the highest human good or idea has been peace of mind. Your ability to achieve your own peace of mind is the true measure of your success and the key determinant of your happiness. To develop spiritually and to become a fully functioning person, you must regularly apply self-discipline and self-control to your thoughts, feelings, and actions. Spiritual development, inner peace, and the experience of joy all require self-mastery and self-control. To succeed in the outer world, you must discipline yourself to focus and concentrate, work hard at your job, take continuous action toward your goals, and become better and more capable as you move onward and upward in life. To succeed in the inner world, however, requires almost the opposite abilities. To achieve inner peace, you must discipline yourself to let go of everything that can disrupt your sense of inner peace and contentment. Zen Buddhism teaches that the main cause of human suffering and unhappiness is attachment. People become attached to ideas, opinions, and material things, and then they are reluctant to let go of them. Sometimes people become so preoccupied with these external factors that it affects their mental and physical health, even keeping them awake at night. When you practice detachment, separating yourself emotionally from things or outcomes, the negative emotions involved stop as well, like unplugging a light from the socket. The need to be right. Most people have a deep-down need to be right. However, when you stop caring if you are right or wrong, all the emotions surrounding this need for rightness disappear. Dr. Gerald Jampolsky asked the great question, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? Some people become passionate about their political or religious beliefs, all of which have been learned from someone else in some way. But when you put these beliefs aside for a while, they lose their ability to stir your emotions or inflame your anger. I have friends and meet people with ideas and opinions that range all over the political and religious spectrums. In most cases, we get along well together because we simply put aside the discussion of opinions on which we differ. We consciously and deliberately discipline ourselves to detach from these ideas, and we focus instead on subjects that we agree on and in which we share common interests. Refuse to blame anyone for anything. The chief cause of negative emotions and the primary destroyer of inner peace is blame. As I mentioned earlier in the book, it's not possible to have a negative emotion without having someone or something to blame in some way or for something. Blame requires one or both of two factors to exist. The first is identification. This occurs when you take something personally. You identify with it. As soon as you decide to feel that someone has done or said something negative that affects your personal interests in some way, you immediately become angry and blame that person. Even if someone who is hurrying to work, completely preoccupied, and who may have just had a fight with his or her spouse accidentally cuts you off in traffic, you can immediately become angry at that person, a complete stranger, because you took their driving behavior personally. But when you discipline yourself to detach and stop taking things personally, the negative emotional charge connected with the person or incident stops almost immediately. For example, when someone cuts you off in traffic, you can detach from the situation emotionally by saying to yourself, "Oh well, he's probably in a hurry to get to work. Maybe he's late." The minute you say that to yourself, all negativity associated with the event vanishes, and you become calm, relaxed, and positive once more. The second root cause of blaming is justification. This occurs when you tell yourself and others why it is that you are entitled to be angry or upset in this situation. Many people fall in love with their suffering. Their past problems become a primary focus of their lives. They think about what happened all the time. They go through the day and even the night carrying on angry conversations with people who are not present, people who they feel have hurt them in the past. Whenever they get into a conversation for any period of time, they bring out their suffering, like a trader in a bazaar, and display it to the other person. They then recycle through the unhappy events of their lives, telling what happened and how they were badly treated and how awful the other person was to have behaved in this way. However, when you discipline yourself to stop justifying your negative emotions by continually rehashing what happened and what the other person did or didn't do, and when you instead calmly accept that stuff happens in life, your negativity accompanying the other person or situation dies away. Practice forgiveness. The height of self-discipline in spiritual development is the practice of forgiveness. The law of forgiveness says you are mentally and emotionally healthy to the degree to which you can freely forgive anyone who has hurt you in any way. Every person, including you, has experienced destructive criticism, negative treatment, unkindness, rudeness, unfairness, betrayal, and dishonesty from others over the years. These events are unfortunate, but they are an inevitable and unavoidable part of being a member of the human race. The only way you can avoid the problems and difficulties of living in a busy society with many different kinds of people is to live in a cave. The only question you need to ask and answer after you've had a negative experience is, how long does it take you to get over this event and get on with your life? This is a decision only you can make. It is one of the most important types of decisions that you make in your own life if you truly want to be happy. What's more, it is a true test of your mental and spiritual discipline. The forgetting curve. Each person has a forgetting curve, or what is often called a forgiveness curve. This curve measures how quickly you forgive and forget a negative experience, and it determines how mentally and emotionally healthy you really are. Imagine a rectangle with a scale from 0 to 100 ascending the left side of the rectangle. This is the scale of the intensity of the negative emotion you experience when you are hurt or offended in some way. Across the bottom of this graph are the months and years of your life. You can have either a flat forgiveness curve or a steep downward sloping forgiveness curve. If your forgiveness curve is flat, this means that you continue to be angry at the same level as when the event occurred for a long time, sometimes for years or even decades. There are countless people who are still angry about something one of their parents did or said to them decades ago. Furthermore, they will tell you about it at the drop of a hat. They will reach into their gunny sack of unforgiven events and pull out their childhood experiences and share them with you. Every psychologist and psychiatrist who deals with unhappy people is employed because their patients have flat forgiveness curves. Their primary conversation in therapy is talking about what someone did or didn't do to them or for them at some point in the past and how unhappy that person still feels about it today. Get over it and get on with it. Truly healthy people, on the other hand, have downward sloping forgiveness curves. They have had just as many difficulties and problems in life as anyone else, but they have disciplined themselves by resolving to forgive and forget quickly so that they can get on with their lives. They refuse to gunny sack their problems and carry them forward. They simply let them go and turn their attention to the things that make them happy. The discipline of forgiveness is the key to the spiritual kingdom. It is only possible for you to enjoy high levels of peace of mind when you develop the habit and discipline of freely forgiving other people for everything and anything that they have done to hurt you. Forgiveness is selfish. Some people are confused about the concept of forgiveness. They think that forgiving someone else for having hurt them is the same as condoning that behavior or even approving of it. Quite the contrary. Forgiveness is a purely selfish act. Forgiveness has nothing whatever to do with the other person. You forgive others so that you yourself can be emotionally free, so that you no longer carry that baggage around with you. You have a wonderful mind. You are incredibly intelligent and insightful. You can use your mind on your behalf in order to help you to be joyous and happy, or you can use it against yourself. The way you use your mind at the highest level is to find reasons to forgive others. Instead of rehashing and dissecting a past event, looking for rationalizations, justifications, and reasons to take something personally, instead, use your intelligence to find reasons to accept responsibility and then let go of the negative situation. Accept responsibility and forgive. The instant you accept responsibility and forgive everyone for anything that they ever did to hurt you in any way, you liberate yourself completely. All your negative emotions disappear. In place of your negative emotions, you experience a sense of inner peace, love, happiness, and joy. The payoff for using your self-discipline to practice forgiveness on an ongoing basis is extraordinary. When you use your incredible abilities of self-control, self-mastery, and detachment to separate yourself emotionally from situations that would otherwise make you unhappy, the entire quality of your life improves in a wonderful way. Now here are 7 action exercises. Number 1, take the forgiveness test. Do you want to be right, or do you want to be happy? 2, identify the people from your past who you feel have hurt you in any way, and then make a decision today to forgive them and let go of those negative feelings. 3, find reasons not to justify your negative emotions of blame or anger, and instead use your intelligence to accept responsibility. 4, set peace of mind as your highest goal, and then resolve to let go of any thoughts or emotions that disturb you in any way. 5, begin today to read something spiritual and uplifting each morning before you begin your day. This habit will change your life. 6, from now on, refuse to take things personally. Ask yourself how much it will matter 5 years from today. And number 7, practice the Buddhist method of detachment from money and material things, and refuse to become upset or worried about anything. This is Brian Tracy, and thank you for listening.